Hi everybody, it's Kevin, and this is the video for the One Sheet Wonder cards. And this particular project is actually going to be 3 cards. So I'm going to show you how to take one 4x6 piece of paper, and we're going to make all these cards from that one piece of paper. So in your kit, you're looking for the envelope that has white card bases in it, and there's going to be 3 of them, and there's going to be a whole bunch of pieces of Cajun craze that are already pre-cut for you, that are all the little mats that go behind the piece of designer paper. And there should be in your package as well a couple of really thin little strips of early espresso. These are to make the poles that the birdhouses go on. If not, they're in one of your other envelopes. We used the poles on the trio of birdhouse card, and so they might be in that package, or you might have some leftovers from that project too. Okay, I just have to grab one more thing here. I'm going to pause for 1 second and I'll be right back. Here we are. Okay, so we have a 4x6 piece of this designer series paper that's got these beautiful leafy patterns on it. The back side of it is the blue. This should also already be in your envelope, in your kit, and there should be a second piece of this in with the papers that were in your stamp set. You can choose another piece of paper to use with this if you like. Just make sure that it goes with the Cajun craze. Most of them should have some brown or Cajun craze in them, or you can cut additional mats if you like. I've given you all of the dimensions for both how to cut this piece and how to cut the mats are in the project page. But we've pre-cut everything for you just to speed it along a little bit. But I am going to show you how to cut this piece of paper. So you're going to need your trimmer, and I've tried to make it as simple as I can. So these one sheet wonders are all the rage today, and basically you just cut your piece of paper up into a whole bunch of different shapes and sizes, and then find different ways to apply them together on the card. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take it along the long length, and we're going to divide it right in the middle. So it's 4 inches wide, so we're going to divide it at 2 inches. Okay, and then keeping that together, I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to put it at my 1 inch mark on this side, just lining up both pieces. 1 inch. There we go. And I'm going to cut off 1 inch. So I have 2 1 inch by 2 inch pieces. Then I'm going to go on this end of it, and I'm going to go to my 3 inch mark. Line it all up and cut. And so essentially what I have done is take the 6 inch length, and I've got 2 3 inch pieces, 2 2 inch pieces, and 2 1 inch pieces. So 1, 2, 3. So it's thirds, but they get progressively larger, and that gives you different shapes to work with. Okay, then the mat pieces, if you started with a piece of paper that was 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, and you divide that into 1, 2, and 3 equal pieces, you end up with your mat pieces that are all 1/8 of an inch larger on both sides, and so they allow you to mat these up with a 1/16 of an inch around all 4 sides. So that's the first thing we're going to do. And I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue on this one, because when I'm matting stuff up like that, I like to have time to wiggle it around to make sure it's all even. And I'm just putting some very thin beads of glue. And that gives me time to move them around to where I like them, and then stick them down. So do that with all 6 pieces. that. Oop. There we go. That's why we use glue instead of tape runner, because we can move it around. This paper is also very non-directional. The leafy patterns on it go in all directions, so it doesn't really matter which way we end up turning these pieces. There's no particular up or down. If you choose a different paper and it has the trees on it, you may be stuck with directional pieces that you'll have to orient on your card in a particular way. So just keep that in mind. All right, coming down to the last one. All right. Alright, so we've got all our matte pieces done. I'm just going to let them sit to dry for a minute. In your package, you had a bigger piece of white for stamping your birdhouses on. I've got a bunch of little scraps here, and I want 5 birdhouses. And as I said in a previous video, when you're stamping your birdhouses, take into account what you're going to color with. I'm going to be coloring with a variety of stamping blends. And so I want to use Memento ink with my stamping blends. If you're going to watercolor or color with your watercolor pencils and use water on your paper, then you want the StazOn ink. Otherwise it will bleed the minute you put water to it. So I want to have, I'm going to duplicate what I've got here. I need 5 birdhouses. You can choose the birdhouses that you like. I'm actually just going to stamp a couple of these guys. So I got 1, 2. Let me see this tall, skinny one. I like the tall, skinny one. Can I fit 2 of them? I'm going to do one this way if I turn them upside down. Yep. So tall, skinny one. And then want another tall, skinny one. And I want one of these pagoda ones, maybe 2. Put one on the other end. Yeah, because I'm going to cut the hook off the top because they're going to be on poles, so I'll overlap the hooks and I can cut them off. Okay. Get that out of the way. I want to clean my stamps before I forget. All right. Okay. Then we're going to do some coloring. So I just grabbed a variety of colors here. I really didn't look. Birdhouses can be any color you want. So we're just going to color. If you want to choose colors that are in the paper, there's Cajun Craze, there's Early Espresso, I have to grab the package to read them all off to be certain, but the colors will be listed in the project description on the page where you're watching this video, and you can stick to that color scheme or use something entirely different. I just grabbed a variety of blends out of my bucket. Because honestly, most people who build and paint birdhouses use whatever color paint they've got in the garage. And you don't necessarily want your birdhouses to blend in with the background of the paper. You want them to stand out with lots of bright primary colors on them and be fun. Okay, so there's one of those. I know I'm going to probably use these three. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I only need one of those 5. So we'll just quickly color these in. You can do them striped or solid colors. If you want to spend the time and use your Stampin' Blends properly, then you do all the blending. And to give them their 3D shadow effect and whatnot. You can do that a little bit with just a single blend too. The more you color, the darker it gets. So if I keep coloring here on this little awning, it's going to saturate it and it's going to look darker than the other part of the roof because I'm just adding more alcohol and pigment to it. So you can actually get darker colors just by coloring a little more with whatever blend you happen to have in your hand. There we go. And I gotta get that yellow back and do this part of the roof in here that I missed. And then he's gonna have a bright pink door. Yep. And then I think I'm gonna do a pink birdhouse. I've got that out. With an ivory colored rooftop. And a green door. Yes, and ivory bottom. All right. And then let's do something fun with this one. Let's do stripes. I remember driving by a park up in the Annapolis Valley once. It was a Lions Club park, and they had all the picnic tables and garbage bins and everything painted purple and yellow, which I thought at the time was one of the most horrendous color schemes I had ever seen. But it was fun. Made the park look pretty. Okay, and I don't know, let's do, what do I want to do for the roof? Peach. You'll notice I'm not being too concerned about going outside the lines here because I'm going to cut these all out. Okay, one more. Let me see, I've got pink and yellow and green. I haven't done blue. A little bit of purple. Maybe let's do a whole purple one. purple and blue. This one will be sort of soft colors. You color your birdhouses the way you like. Okay. And then we're going to fussy cut these, and I'm only going to fussy cut one on camera here for you, and I'm going to pause the video for a minute while I cut the rest out and come back, because you really don't want to spend 15 minutes watching me fussy cut birdhouses. So I'll finish this one. It's got a little bit of curvy shape to it. The other ones are all fairly just straight lines, so you're just snipping off straight pieces. This one's got a little bit of a funky edge to it. There, okay, so there's that one. I'm going to cut the rest, and I will be back in 2 shakes. Okay, I'm back, and look, we've got die-cut birdhouses, fussy cut birdhouses. So we've got lots of birdhouses. We've got all our pieces that are, what do I want to say here? They're matted pieces, okay? And we've got our 3 white card bases from our package. So now it's just a matter of assembly. So I'm just going to fold and burnish all my card bases. And then we're going to divide up the pieces, and you can decide whether you want to do your cards tall or wide or what have you. I'm just going to repeat exactly the 3 that I have right here. So we're going to do a tall one, and I'm going to take my matted pieces and I'm going to divide them this way. I'm going to have a square and a small rectangle. I'm going to have a large rectangle and a square. And then that leaves me with a large rectangle and a little rectangle. So I've got 3 entirely different sets of shapes. But you can, if you want to, do both the large rectangles, and you can arrange them on your card in any way you want to do them. You could do both squares, and you could arrange them on your card in any way that you want to do them, a square and a diamond. This looks a little lonely on the card all by itself, but you could do, I don't know, you could do something like that and have your birdhouses in a sentiment. It is entirely up to you, but I am arranging them in such a way that I've got one of each with one of each. Okay, so we're going to do this one first. So 1 always just goes down, and 1 always goes up on dimensionals, is my rule of thumb, just to add some depth to it. And then on this particular card, we're going to have 2 birdhouses. So I'm just going to pick 2 different birdhouses, and I'm going to have a piece of pole, and we're going to put the poles in behind these pieces. So first, I'm going to attach my poles to my birdhouses. So I'm going to take a little bit of glue, put on the bottom, middle, and a line here, just a little bit of each birdhouse. I'm going to use my grid paper to line my birdhouse up against the line and roughly in the middle, and that way when I stick my pole on, I can line it up down the grid paper line to know that it's centered. I'll do that with each one of these. That way they're straight on my poles. Okay, then I can decide where I'm going to stick them and how tall they need to be. So nothing is stuck down yet. I'm still just sort of gauging where everything goes. That's probably going to work out okay. Yep, okay, so I'm going to stick this one right down. I'm not going to try to do dimensionals on this particular one that's going on, because just for time and for difference. And I see my pole moved a little bit. Drag them over there and straighten them out. Yep. Okay. So that one's going to go there. That one's going to go like that. That covers that up. Okay. This one only needs a really short little pole, like about that much. Some glue on the back. A couple little dots there. That one's going to go under there like that. And that leaves me room to put a sentiment or something over here. And you will notice that in my sample card, as well as this one, there is not a sentiment. Because this is your challenge card. You do not have to follow exactly what we're doing here, but we also are challenging you to decide what sentiments you're going to put on the front, what embellishments you're going to put on them, what you're going to put on the inside. So you've got three different card layouts to do and show us your talents. Now this one I am going to put up on some dimensionals. I'm just going to put 3 big ones on the back. And that's just going to go on there. So I'm leaving the same amount of distance here that I have over here on this side. And I'm just putting it in the center vertically of my square. So there. That is that one done. Okay. Let's do this one. This one's a little bit different in that the pole is glued to the paper and the birdhouse is up on dimensionals. So we'll grab another card base. We're doing the big one in the square. So the big one just gets glued down in the corner. About 1/4 of an inch away from the left and right. Again, you can use your grid paper if you have it to help line things up. Okay. Then this square is going to go down here like this. It's just going to overlap that one a tiny little bit. I need a little piece of pole that's probably about that big. A couple little dots. Glue down the back of this. Find my tweezers. My fingers are getting sticky. And he's just going to tuck behind there and get lost somewhere behind the birdhouse here. That. Then, if you want, you can take some of your ribbon and tie it around this piece before you put it on with dimensionals, or twine. The twine also looks good if you just loop it around and stick it on the back of and just have the loops stick out from behind your piece, but that's entirely up to you. We're leaving that part for you to decide what to do. So 4 dimensionals on the back of my square, and then this one just overlaps and a little bit more of a margin down here than what was up there. And then I just need to pick a birdhouse and put a couple dimensionals on the back of the birdhouse. And put him over the pole. There we go. That's that one. And then the last one I decided to turn and do as a landscape card. And in this case, I glued both of these down. The only thing I did on dimensionals was the birdhouses. And I stamped, there's a stamp in the stamp set here I'm going to show you in a second that is like a hook hanging from a tree branch or something. So I'm going to glue that one down. And I'm going to glue this one down. Just lining it up with the bottom. Making sure that my space here and here is about the same. It's a little less in the middle. It doesn't matter as long as it's equidistant. And then my bird houses are going to go on dimensionals. And this is a little backwards to what you would normally do, but you have to do the stamping after because it's the only way you're going to line the stamp up in the right place for the top of your birdhouse. So we're cheating here a little bit. Normally we would stamp first before putting anything down that's going to get in the way of the stamp, but this particular stamp is forgiving. So I'm doing one birdhouse sort of lined up with the right edge and the other birdhouse lined up with the left edge. Okay, and then in the stamp set there's this little hook. It's basically, it's a line with a ball on the end of it. We want that. And we want some Memento ink. And just going to put it caddy corner on my block, but I'm actually doing that for a reason, and I want the ball as close to the corner as I can get it because I'm going to be stamping butt up. I want this to butt up against the birdhouse. Okay, now you have to be careful when you do this because you don't want to touch your paper and then smudge your stamp. So I'm actually going to come in on a bit of a downward angle with my block with the point so that I can get my ball in there, and then I'm going to bring it down and touch the paper. If you are unsure about doing this, just take a black pen and draw a line. This is not an overcomplicated stamped image, but if you're careful and you take your time, you can get it. Be careful not to touch the paper with the block or the ink until you're ready, and then commit and do it. Okay, that's that. That one's done. All right, clean this mess up here. So we've got this one and this one. That was my original. And this one. I'll move my sample set out of the way. And here are the three that we made. So you have lots more card bases in your kit. You have a lot of designer paper left, and you could cut up one of those extra card bases to make matte pieces to go behind, and you could make another set of 3 cards. So at the bottom of this project page, you're going to find a Facebook link that takes you through to our Facebook group and the specific post for this set of 3 cards, the One Sheet Wonder. And we would love for you to share photos, thoughts, ideas, and give us feedback about this project on that particular post. Yeah, tell us what you think of it and show us what you made. And if you decide to totally redesign this and do something different, we want to see that too. Show us how you finish these off with embellishment, with sentiments on the inside, decorate them, add little birds, do whatever you're going to do. Okay, thanks, and enjoy the rest of the projects.